So welcome, everybody. It's a pleasure to have you with us this afternoon, and especially our big welcome to our official guest speaker, Anita Byegon, the Honourable now Anita Byegon, who has just been elected to the Assembly of Kiracho, which we will hear a little bit more about later. But we're meeting the only woman elected to that assembly, and Anita has told me it's a bit like a council, and then all the councils form the national party. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's probably another subject we could talk about, because it was fascinating when we had I was trying to learn about Kenya politics the other day when we were talking, and it was really interesting. So we congratulate you. It was wonderful to see you on inducted. You'll be able to go on her Facebook page and see the official induction. And I just wanted to read something that there, if you go onto Anita's Facebook page, you'll be able to see this, but it is an article that's in the National Africa publication. Meet the only woman elected to Kiracho Assembly is the leading headline. And Anita has put this beautiful message on here. It is never too late to be what you might have been. We need women at all levels, including the top, to change the dynamic, reshape the conversation, to make sure women's voices are heard and heeded, not overlooked and ignored. So we congratulate you and wish you all the very best for the next 5 years as you become one of the leaders for your country. And it is such a privilege that you're with us today, zooming in from Kenya. So I think we might just have a little bit of an applause and say, well done, Anita.
Thank you.
And I know the future is going to be very bright for Kenya with Anita leading. And I'm sure once you see Anita's presentation today, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. I met Anita, I can't even remember exactly how, somehow through the Days for Girls connection. And it's just been an absolute pleasure to be learning about Kenya and talking together as we progress. Without further ado, I'm going to welcome President Mark Davies, just to say a couple of words, President of the Rotary Club of Albert Park, who is our official partners of this fundraising campaign that we will be launching today. Thank you, Mark.
Gee, that's a throw over without notice, Jenny.
Yeah, correct. But, we're winging it today. Do not worry.
Yeah, thanks very much for that. We had I suppose, a Zoom call a little while ago, which introduced me to this topic. And, you know, what she said earlier about the feats of Anita and what she's achieving, we should all sit up and take notice. And, you know, I just want to say, not only on behalf of Rotary Club of Albert Park, but this incredible cause and what's happening is that it's not a balanced conversation unless women are contributing. So I'm really eager to hear more about this story today, and I think this is not just a single program with a single outcome. I think it could be a blueprint for more and more change, certainly in Africa, but beyond, for young girls and young boys. And that's what I'm interested in hearing about, the balanced conversation about what we can do for young girls to empower them, but young boys to sit up and take notice and understand that women are their equal in this world. So I'm very keen on this conversation. Take it away, Anita.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, President Mark. Just for the days before we go on to Anita's presentation, I just wanted to mention, so the Days for Girls ladies understand, within the structure of Rotary, we have an international service chair. So we'll have community service, international service, youth service. And I just wanted to say thank you to our Rotary Club of Albert Park International Service Chair, Matthew Proctor, who's also managing our Zoom call today. Thank you, Matthew, and thank you, Mark, for agreeing to lead this important project. And we're you know, very appreciative of your leadership. Thank you, Mark, and Matthew. Matthew, did you want to say a couple of words as well as our international?
No, you're very welcome. Just a bit of housekeeping. We are recording the call, so if you're unhappy with that, turn your video off. We've got about half of the attendees here today that registered, so what we'll do is we'll distribute the recording afterwards. And if anyone's got any questions during the presentation, feel free to put them in the chat in Zoom, or raise your hand at the end. It's probably just as easy. But welcome, everybody.
Now somebody's phone is buzzing, I think. Is that? So we can just hear it. That's all right. So we'll ask everybody to mute. Deb, I think you're the only other one that's not muted at this stage. And I will mute myself while Anita launches into her presentation. So thank you, everybody, and thank you, Anita.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jenny, for this opportunity to be able to share with the team on our progress and on the project that we are working with in this country, that is Kenya. I want to say thank you so much. I'll go straight to introduction. I don't know, Proctor, if you can share your screen on the PowerPoint with you, Proctor.
Sure, just give me one moment, I'll do that.
Or I can do it from my end. I don't know, can I do it from my end?
Yes, you can. I've made you a host, so you can do it at your side. That might be easier.
Let me see. Please, Proctor, if you can do it from your end, I can't, I'm not able to even access my desktop.
Sure, no problem. Is that working for everybody?
All right. Yes.
Yes.
It's working already. Welcome, guys. Just a little bit of who is Anita. I'll read my notes a little bit, then I can explain. Anita is a Kenyan sexual and reproductive health and rights advocate. I'm passionate about the empowerment of youth, women, girls, which actually this led me to co-found the Bomet Days for Girls enterprise. That is in the year 2016. Days for Girls enterprise, it's a social enterprise that works with adolescents and women by providing sexual and reproductive health and rights awareness. We do menstrual hygiene programs, and also we engage on economic empowerment. Anita has over 5 years experience in advocacy. I think that's the field I've dealt with for so long. Just being part of the solution that the youth, the challenges that the youth go through in their daily as they grow to to puberty and adolescent stage. I'm also currently a facilitator in a 5-year project that's under Women in Leadership, which it's in Kenya, but it's partnering with Equitas. Mostly we dealt with advancing equality through the human rights education. I come from Bomet. It's a community, in Bomet. That's where we do most of the programs, and also Kericho counties. These are counties that are close to each other. Bomet has a population of about 900, almost a million population. The same to Kericho, almost 900,000. So those are the areas that we've focused for the past years, trying to reach out to the girl child and providing them with a solution. And lastly, just as Jeannie had mentioned, Anita was recently elected to serve as a member of County Assembly in Kericho County. And this also goes for 5 years. This is an elective position that I went through a very rigorous campaign time. I remember when we talked with Jeannie, I asked for prayers, and it wasn't easy being in a country where, issues to do with politics is still under a male, still being dominated by male. But I was able to push through, and every time I could stand and speak, I always spoke to women, and I was asking them that, this is our time as women. We know we are having so many challenges. We have our girls going through a lot, but if we don't, take up these elective positions, and this is where the policies are being made. This is where everything else is being put on the table and being budgeted for, and bills are being amended. And if we're not there, if our voice as women is not on that table, then it's going to take a while for us to get some of these issues addressed. And I think people really, mostly women actually connected with that. And, we were always pushing and telling ourselves, we want to be on that table where issues are being talked about, where decisions are being made. And that actually just pushed me through. And I'm happy to be able to serve and, to be able to provide some of the things that we are working on today, and see, a country, see a world where, in the near future, we are telling ourselves we are budgeting for issues to do with sanitary towels, for example. Sometimes I think it's also a basic need. As much as we say we want food, shelter, and clothing, we can add sanitary towel as something that is actually needed, because if you don't have a sanitary towel, you don't go to school, you don't go to work. So those are some of the things I would like to see myself on the floor of a county assembly, pushing for a bill to be approved, to be passed, just to see the girls and women, get what they really need and what really affects them in their daily lives. Thank you. So let's move on, Proctor. So Bomet Days for Girls program. Bomet Days for Girls enterprise, we make and distribute reusable washable pads, and also we get menstrual cups that we give to women. Normally we get these ones from the Days for Girls headquarters, which sometimes we give options or choices to the women. So we also have those in our store that majorly women try to train them on the usage of the cups, and those who are comfortable with them normally use them. As an enterprise, we are more offering a sustainable and economical option. When we talk about what is happening with the menstrual hygiene world, as a country, there is still that stigma, I would say, because some of the things we are fighting with is more of a stigma. It's more of a cultural issue. And we're saying that, stigma already stops people who menstruate from asking for period products. That's the very first part. If they're not able to ask, they're not able to talk to anybody. Girls are not able to approach their fathers and even ask for money to buy these things. That's already a challenge. As more communities practice, I think this was the part that, there's still a lot of, father and, and daughter issues that as a girl, you're not free. You're not free to be able to engage, to be able to talk to your father about maybe some of the issues, especially to do with, menstrual health. So, when we see that happening, you will find that even in most schools, girls are not able to even engage the male teachers on anything to do with, periods or issues to do with asking for any help when it comes to menstrual health. And when we're looking at what is it that is needed out there, when we don't have the education. So there's a part I mentioned about when people who menstruate do not have the education or the resources to be able to manage their period safely. They often resort to using, unsafe materials and rags, clothing, which can again, cause physical health risk. When I talk of that, that line, it reminds me of my growing up. I remember sometimes back, I wrote a book with some of my friends, and I was able to share how, you know, myself, when I got into, you know, the age where I was starting to menstruate and all that, and I didn't have an idea of what was going on. And I remember most of the time, every other month, you know, I could either stay home because you don't know even what to use. Nobody has told you what is happening. There's no education that has come up front for you to be able to even understand what's going on. So, you know, we as an enterprise, we try to break that gap. Can we be the providers of the information? Can we educate, you know, our girls early enough to be able to actually understand that, you know, as we grow, our body also changes, and this is what happens, and this is how you can, you know, you can take care of yourself as a girl, for example. And just some of the achievements that we've achieved, or what we've done as an enterprise since we started our enterprise. We've been able to train over 25,000 girls, women, boys, and men. The reason why we bring in the boys and men, if we want to fight the stigma, we can only fight that stigma by ensuring that the boys and men are actually aware. They are even ambassadors of all this, you know, because if no one is, if at the end of the day we are in a situation whereby the boys and the men are fully aware of what's going on, then I'm sure that stigma will not be there. So as Days for Girls, the program that came in, we call it the Men Who Knows, is we've actually targeted so much in our training to train the girls and also involve the boys in school. Because sometimes I remember in my village, it was around 2019, I lost a girl called Jacqueline because of menstrual shame. And if you try to follow that, what happened in that incident, it was something that could have been, you know, we could have done something to protect it. The girl was in class. She started her menses while in class. And at some point, she walked out of class trying to go to, I remember another class, she was going to borrow a pencil or something. During that process, she didn't know that she had soiled her dress. But when she walked outside the classroom, everybody saw what happened. And the boys started laughing at her. She didn't have anyone to comfort her. And you know what this girl decided to do? She went home, picked a robe, and hanged herself in a tree. Just later to just learn that, you know, this is something that we could have done something, you know. I remember we sat with teachers and we really told ourselves, asked ourselves the hard questions. As teachers, have you been doing your part? How did we allow, you know, this to happen? And we started from that point to ensure that every time when we are teaching about menstrual hygiene, we want the boys to be seated. We want them to understand what happens for what are these girls going through every month. And the interesting part is that even the boys have their changes also when they're growing up. But you know, some of them even don't understand why they go through some of the changes because nobody takes time to train them. But as Days for Girls, this has been our mandate to see that we are working towards, you know, making the conversation as normal, you know, so that when a girl approaches a father and asks for money to buy a sanitary pad, it is very normal. If they can, you know, we want to be in a situation whereby the brothers are also the sisters' keepers, you know, when such situations happen and they can be able to help them. So I just mentioned that on October 11th, it's an International Day of a Girl, where, you know, it's a focus on, you know, creating a community where every woman and a girl is empowered to manage their menstruation safely, hygienically, with confidence, and without shame, and where no woman or a girl is limited by something as natural and normal as a period. And we are just saying, will you join us? You know, it's a big day for the girl child. We are looking at a project where we want to reach out to girls in a county called Homa Bay. And, you know, this is a day we are looking at and saying, how can we be of help to these girls in that area that we've identified that really needs our help. So thank you, Proctor. Let's move on. This is more of an enterprise, just more narration on how the enterprise program works. We're saying that, it's approaching the local leaders, who often live in low-income communities to become agents of change. We're also creating leadership opportunities in economic development and health education. Rather than being passive consumers, we're also empowering to be grassroots leaders in the growing menstrual health and social business movement. In a nutshell, what I would say, I remember when I started the enterprise way back in 2016, I came to learn about Days for Girls from friends who were visiting Africa, and they had brought some kids. And when we started, it took some time with them bringing kids to Kenya, for us to distribute. But when we got to learn about the enterprise, there's been a lot of, leadership. Just even myself, in 2016, I wouldn't say I could even speak to a group like what I'm doing today. I couldn't do a good presentation, but through the Days for Girls program, it has actually opened up so many doors for me. Not only me, even the women that we train. We have a group of 20 women who source, they make the kits. And, sometimes I sit with them and write stories about where we've come from. And I know I have a group of, I think 3 or 4 women whom we took in. They didn't have any skill in 2016. But when we taught them how to make Days for Girls kits, they've been able to educate their children. I remember 2 of them were living in a mud house. Most of the families here are not able to build stone houses. So the most affordable one is you build a mud house that you can use you use the soil and all sorts of things. But those women, when they started working with the enterprise, they made some money and they were able to build some nice houses for their families. So when I look at an enterprise point of view, I look at two-way traffic. It has helped our children to stay in school. And it has also helped the communities that the enterprises are in to be able to generate, for the women to be able to earn an income. I remember taking the group of women I have to open a bank account. They didn't even have a bank account because they used to tell me, we open a bank account to put what? We don't have money to save in a bank account. And I told them, now since we are working here, let us learn to go to the bank. And it was very interesting, to see them get to know there is a bank account, you can save some money and all sorts of things. So that's a little testimony I would give about the enterprises. Thank you. Let's move on, Proctor. Now, this is the part about, the empowering through health education. I think I've mentioned a lot about, why we do the education. Because as Days for Girls, we believe that the power of education is its ability to provide a catalyst for change. We are committed to changing the shame and the stigma associated with menstruation by ensuring that women and girls have the knowledge needed to manage their menses and with confidence and dignity. At Days for Girls, we've seen the power of menstrual health as a program for empowerment. For this reason, all DFG kits distribution are conducted with an ambassadors of women health education. This is a curriculum that covers the topic, including menstruation. We talk about puberty, reproduction. We also engage on contraception, the HIV/AIDS. We also, it's a world-rounded information that we are giving out there so that when we leave, those girls, they have that knowledge and they can actually, have confidence in all that is happening with them. We also give them some trainings on self-defense. We mention a bit of trafficking because some of these things happen in some areas. So we narrow down to, what are the challenges in the specific areas and just give them what they need. We also invite the men and boys to be part of ensuring dignity, health, and opportunity for women and girls in their communities. Now that is through the Men Who Knows program, which is an education and training given to the men and boys in the local communities. We thought we teach them how to accurately educate about menstruation and reproductive health. And, we've seen this opening a lot of conversations about the real strength, versus violence, and to also create opportunities for men to stand together in great support of the united communities. So that's all we do on our education part. Let's move next, Matthew. Now, what are we trying to solve in this time and in this moment? We have a problem, and the problem we're having is from a county called Homa Bay. Homa Bay is a county close to the Lake Victoria. It's actually almost bordering the Uganda. And Homa Bay is known with its own challenges. And it's mostly because people rely on fishing. That's from the Lake Victoria. Mostly families actually go out to fish for them to be able to either sell fish to earn a living. And that's what's known in the area. And apart from just the fishing aspect, there are challenges that are known or that have actually affected that specific community. I think because of the kind of business that's happening in the area. Sometimes women have to go fishing overnight. I know that's the best time for fishing. Don't ask me why, but fishing is done mostly overnight. Maybe someone will tell me why. That's what happens in our fishing areas. So Homa Bay apparently has been the leading county in HIV and AIDS prevalence in the country. In accordance with the statistics, it's purported that in a homestead, averagely, where there's one person who is infected with the virus, it's been hitting the news in Kenya, in the Kenya Health Information System survey, revealing that an average of 40 girls per month also are becoming pregnant in their teenage years. These, at times, the recorded numbers are far less than the actual numbers. The trend has been attributed by the harsh economic times, whereby the sex experts have used the harsh economic times to lure girls into sexual activities in exchange for money for sanitary towels. This has led to many people languishing in poverty, that they cannot afford to provide for themselves the basic needs, let alone the sanitary towels during menstruation. To this effect, Bomet Days for Girls Enterprise, in collaboration with the County of Homa Bay and the residents of Homa Bay, will seek to address this gap. So where we came in as an enterprise, because this county has been hitting the news more often, not hitting the news in a good way, and when you hit the news, especially talking about our girl child or our adolescent girls being affected. Here we are trying to address an issue of young teenage pregnancies. There's also an infection, coming in with these early teenage pregnancies. And now we try to look, and I remember having a meeting with the community when they heard about what we are doing as an enterprise. And, most of the schools have had a lot of challenges with the girls dropouts. The girls get to a 6th grade, they drop out. 7th grade, when you get to the 8th grade, I remember I went to about 5 schools. And in those 5 schools, I remember most of the classes had 2 or 3 girls out of a class of 27 to 30 students. And every time I could ask the head of the school, what is happening? Where are the girls? And the reasons I'm given, they dropped out of school because of teenage pregnancies. So I tried to dig deeper and ask myself, why teenage pregnancies? What is happening? But in a situation where there's high poverty numbers or rates, there would be an immediate case of pregnancies. So it's so unfortunate when the poverty sometimes affects especially the girl child more, because someone would be willing to give something, but it's not, they don't get it for free. They would have to exchange, either you're given money, you exchange for sex, which now, leave these girls either infected with HIV, they are also pregnant, they've dropped out of school. So, I'm looking at this Oma Bay situation, being, providing them with sanitary towels will be the first part of it. As we speak right now, I'm trying to engage the county and see if we can even build some safe homes for these girls. Because we did, the last few months, we've done a survey, and we are almost having 230, I think it was about 235 girls who've dropped out of school. They have children at home. They have no one to take care of children, their young ones, for them to go back to school. So we are having a community that is having, very young mothers coming up, and no one is providing a solution. So the other day we just sat down and asked ourselves, if we don't take in these young ones, if we don't plan on where these young ones will go, that is the end of education for these girls. And that also tells you, the poverty continues, because with no education, there is nothing much actually that we expect to change in that area because of the challenges that they're going through. Next, Matthew. So the solution that we are having, I think I've mentioned already, the first solution we are providing is to go into the areas, do our trainings, do distributions, that is, provide these girls with what we are calling it a sustainable solution. A sustainable solution for me is to provide them with the Days for Girls reusable sanitary pads, which will have cushioned these girls for about 3 years. And when I look at a girl who is in 6th grade, when they get the reusable sanitary pad, I'm sure that girl will be able to finish the 8th grade without, having to go through a challenge of period poverty, for example, and with this program, or with this provision of the reusable sanitary pad, these girls would have been, would have prevented, some of the, predators that could have come in. The girls wouldn't have to worry about how are we going to, how do I buy my sanitary pads? What do I need to do to get money? At least we're solving one problem of sanitary pads, as much as there's so many other issues that comes with it. But at least, providing with that solution for this girl child, providing them with the education, building that confidence, so that now it's a matter of maybe the families working on now the empowerment aspect of empowering the families to be able to, the parents to be able to look for food, that also follows. But at least we are solving something for the girls who are able to attend school. I talked to the county leadership in that area the other day, and they're also trying to build up a food program in the schools, because they are realizing that if these families are not able to provide food, sometimes also it stops these children from even going to school if they're hungry. So they're trying to build a program where they're cooking for them maize and beans, which I really like the program, because now I was looking at us providing a solution on the sanitary pad. The girls are able to eat in school. At least that keeps that child in school without having to worry, what will I eat? What will I do? So at least I'm seeing some things coming together to be able to actually provide a solution to this area that we are trying to, work with and partner with them for this time. So next, I don't know if we have any, the last slide, the target population. The initial distribution that we are looking forward in this project is to be able to reach out to about 500 girls. That is the last, I know we did this some months ago, and we gave ourselves a target that these are the major, because the whole region had more than 500 girls. I think we were having almost 1,500, but we sat down and told ourselves which side was mostly affected. And we narrowed down to 500 to start with. Those are the areas that were really hit, that are really affected, with very low turnout when it comes to, the school attendance of the girls and all that. So our first distribution we're looking at reaching out to 500 girls. But going forward, the event will be now targeting more girls, between the age of 10 and 19, who are the most vulnerable. And, as an enterprise, we are open for more partnerships, for grants that will see us even, support more girls, and have them benefit with this program. So that is where we are at the moment. We had worked on reaching out to at least 500 girls for a start. And now, after we are done with the 500, we will now be looking at what other areas, because at least the 500 girls we will be sure of that they are going through for 3 years. I know when we do a distribution this year, for example, the next year, those who are age 9 would have again graduated to 10 years or 11 years, and maybe they would, it's a continuous process. And my long-term solution, maybe in some years to come, is to be able to see, and a fee, some funding through the Parents Association or even the government, just adding in something to, to the schools, so that it's not going to be, us going out and trying to fundraise for them, but at least have some funding set aside for the new class that comes in, because it's cheaper to do for us a new class than when you're trying to do for a whole, for the entire school. For example, you'll find that every new year, maybe there's a group of 20 girls, which now brings down the numbers. Unlike when you want to do for about 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So if we can have a system in the near future where every other new girl that comes into the school is able to get, a kit when they get to 6th grade, then that makes it easier. This reminds me of a school that when we started in Bomet doing Days for Girls program, that school really liked the idea, and the head of the school just decided that every new student that comes to the school, it's a high school, so they put it in their fee structure that when you're coming into the new school, you are adding $10 to be given a Days for Girls kit, and it's become a routine. And interestingly, the performance, and when you go in and just try to talk and look at how the girls are doing, you don't hear anything to do with absenteeism in school, because we are missing this, we are missing this. And I really like the way the school management decided this was the way we were going to go. And the parents have learned to do it. Every time a parent comes in, when they're buying uniforms, they have added a $10 fee to buy the Days for Girls sanitary kit. And it has really helped the school to manage, some of the things that maybe, we are seeing in some of the areas. I think that marks the end of the presentation. I don't know if there's anything left, Matt. This is our enterprise. In our enterprise, we train both men and women. So have some men who also make the Days for Girls kits, and we have the women. So we have a total of 20. And when I see these men, these boys, it reminds me of, the cultural part. When they started making the kits, they were like a laughing stock in the community, because people were asking them, you men, why did you decide to go and make those things? But I remember the first year, 2016, 2017, it was really hard for them to come out and say, yes, we are part of the team that makes the Days for Girls kits, because people were mocking them and saying, no, that is for the women. But now, as we speak today, now they've been, those men who are laughing at them are coming and saying, can you teach us? Because, you guys have been able to grow. They've been able, some of them were students, were graduates in high school, and they have gone to college because of making the Days for Girls kits. So it's been a roller coaster of, many events along the way. This was part of the distributions that we made with the team also. I think some of the pictures you're seeing there are our full kits with all the components inside. When we're doing our distributions, we go as a team, we train, and we distribute. So that marks the end of my small presentation on the why and what we do as Days for Girls Bomet. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anita. Really appreciated that full presentation, and it certainly opens our eyes to issues that we don't face here in Australia. We have a little bit of an understanding, I think, but certainly not to the extent that we've been hearing about today. So thank you. I'm going to hand over to Alison now, who's going to lead us in our question and answer session. And thank you, Alison, for joining us today. For those that don't know, in Alison's previous life, she was a journalist. So she's going to put her journalist hat on and go ahead.
Thank you, Jenny, and thank you, Anita, for your time. I am not involved in Days for Girls, and for those of you who are, I'm quite sure I'm looking at the smiles on your faces, and I'm sure you see this all the time, how these simple products just change the lives of so many. Anita, my first question is, I'm sure everyone is asking, how can we help? And I think the Australian cost of one kit, including the sewing and the manufacture, is about $15 for that kit that lasts the 3 years. And I think I bought my 14-year-old a Big Mac Happy Meal thing the other day, and that was $15. And I just go, oh my goodness, that is so little. What can we do? What can we do?
Thank you, Jessica. How can you help? My request would be your help would be to be able to reach out to these 500 girls who are waiting to see this magic kit in their community to be able to use. We have a target of 500 girls for a start, and it's my prayer that we are able to reach out to them sooner. I know we've worked with Jeannie for a while now, trying to find the possible ways that we could be a solution. And where we stand now, my request is if we can come together, pull our resources and see if we are able to reach out to these 500 girls in a few weeks, and have them get what they've been looking forward to. And more so, I want to be there and see how I can be of help when it comes to even the education bit. We worked with the team, and we were looking at if we're able to reach out to 500 girls, that's about with a $15 per kit. 15 per kit for us goes with education. It's going to cater for more pieces. We didn't want to give them a small package that could again have them have to wait because of the rainy seasons and all that. So when you look at the Days for Girls kit that cost $15, it has so many components in it that the girl will actually have maybe 2 or 3 days without having to worry that, I washed one yesterday, I need to wait for it to dry out and all sorts of things. So my request today to this team is let's reach out, let's see how we can come together. Let's get these 500 girls provided with these kits sooner or later, for them to be able to, to have their, to be back to their, or to be able to menstruate with dignity. That's what I would say. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita. You have solved all of my Christmas present issues. And I believe there's one of us that's having a birthday this week who is going to has asked for her friends to donate funds to be able to buy the kits. And I'm thinking actually of my 13-year-old niece whose period started over the past year. And I think it would be a lovely auntie thing to do, to sit down with her and explain what this is like for girls on the other side of the world, all throughout the world. Jenny, would you like to, does anyone else have any questions before Jenny talks about the Rotary, the project that we are going to raise funds for?
I was just going to say, is there a way of donating directly, or are we doing it through Rotary, Jenny?
Oh, thanks, Lauren. So today is the launch of our campaign. So thank you, Lauren, for asking that. So we've decided to come together as a small group to go, okay, Anita, tell us who turns up today, what the issue is, how you believe we can address the issue. It's a very, very important thing that we all can look at together. It's a great cause. Homer Bay, I know where it is on the map now, and that's about as much as I know. So even just that education of issues to do with HIV and AIDS. So thank you to the Rotary Club of Albert Park. The board have agreed it will be set up as a RORCS registered project. So that means, for those that don't know, it will be managed by the Rotary Club, and that means that any private donations will receive tax deductibility, and that can be extended out to any amount of any direction. So for instance, I've got friends that are actually in Queensland, and another friend who is a minister of an Anglican church in New Zealand. They also want to receive the link. Actually, there's 4 different churches that have said to me that they would like to look at this as a mission partnership. So, you know, there's various ways we can do it, but the most important thing is that we have got this link now, Lauren, that will be set up. Matthew, thank you for organising that, and thank you to Anita. There will be a memorandum of understanding that will be signed off between President Mark Davies and Anita as the manager of the enterprise. So that will be launched this week, I believe. Matthew, is that correct?
I'm hoping by the end of this coming week it should be ready.
So you'll send us the link, Matt?
Yeah, I'll distribute it to everybody that's registered and on our normal social media channels as well.
Thanks.
So, so thank you, President Mark, for President of the Year, to saying yes, let's go for it. So we will do that, and it will be run. Also highlighting, as Anita has raised, that on October the 11th is the United Nations International Day of the Girl Child. So it will also be part of this global reach that's going across the world. Lauren, did that answer your question?
Thank you.
That's thank you so much for that, explaining that, Jenny. And I said to Anita, I said to Jenny earlier, the best thing I can do over the next month is give up my husband's and my coffee money, and we would be glad to, I think, which comes around to about 7 kits. So we will put that, we will be the first ones in there to give up our coffee money in the first instance, which means, you know, a lot of people say, why are you wasting money on coffee anyway? But we're in Melbourne. Does anyone have any other questions? I know we are, Anita's just given us so much to think about. I think what really impacted me was the photos of those boys sewing. And I thought, gosh, I think if I asked my boys to go to the sanitary pad aisle in the supermarket, I know what would happen. Mark, you had a question there.
Yeah, it's probably more a comment, and I mentioned this to Anita last time on the Zoom call, that one of the things that we're trying to do with our international business is seek more collaboration at the front end, which is part of what this is about, but also build more of a relationship with the projects that we're in going forward. So I said that to Anita that, you know, setting up some sort of feedback mechanism, or whether it be through social media or email or whatever it be, videos are nice, that we can see the impacts of the program that has been delivered currently, and the good news stories that it's delivering. And I think that will really motivate people to see the difference between those that are struggling with this issue and those that have had the help and have succeeded and come through the other side. And it's something we're very keen on, is to track these things through, to maintain relationships and see the success of these stories. So it's something that we're very, very keen on pursuing, I suppose, not only through the fundraising, but also in building a relationship with these villages in Kenya and seeing the success. We want to share in the success as well.
Anita, would you share your PowerPoint presentation with us? Are you able to do that?
Yes. Matt can share that.
Yeah,
Matt, can you do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
It's a great start, and it gives us a lot of information. And I suppose then, as this evolves and as the packs become available, there's going to be more stories to tell, and we want to tell those stories as well, and that'll motivate more people to be involved. So I say keep information coming, and we'll keep telling the story.
To make it easier,
thank you.
You could put it up on the chat, Matt. Have you got it?
I will. What I'll do is I'll actually send it via email to everybody that registered.
I just thought it was quick and easy to put it up on.
Anita, you make this sound I'm sure you've had such a journey to get this far, but you're obviously a woman, a human being with incredible drive. And what have been the challenges, though, or what are the challenges you might face on a day-to-day basis that are the micro? But what do you think?
Thank you. Wow, where do I start? So you're saying what are the challenges on a day-to-day basis? First of all, being a woman in Kenya and with no education, I see a lot of challenges that women go through, and it's it's because of lack of education. Sometimes I sit back and look at how I managed to be who I am today. It's because of education. When I was at 8th grade, most of my classmates went through the FGM, the female genital practice. And I remember out of a class of 40, I'm the only girl who went through high school at that time. And every time I meet those friends and those classmates at this moment, they're going through a lot. And it's because 8th grade was their last class they stepped in. After that, they were married off. They started giving birth, and no economic training, no skill. They just stay home and do farming. That's the best part they could do. And seeing that in most villages where very few women. I remember when I even stood out and said I was going for the political seat. Many people were wondering how I was going to make it. But it's because they have known women to be on the receiving end, because they don't have the financial muscle, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the education to do most of the things. But every time I ask myself how I got here, I say thanks to education, because I'm handling women who wakes up in the morning. They either go out to look for farms to casual work to do, which you rarely find, because most of the people maybe work on their own farms. You don't get anyone to employ you to do something. I see families most of the day with children sleeping with no food. And as a leader, it's becoming my daily problem. How do I solve this? You go to school, you find girls struggling. How do I solve this? I know I've told myself that if there's anything to speak about and to fight for, it's education for all, be it a girl, be it a boy, because that opens up most of the things of their successes in the coming years. And what do I do with those who are not able to go to school? I'm doing a lot of mentoring and trainings, organizing from different organizations, just to see them even learn the hand. There are some things you can use your hands. You don't have to read, you don't have to go to a class. And, I'm trying to teach them on poultry farming. Poultry farming, you don't need to go to school, I'm doing a lot of dairy farming. You don't have to go to school, What you need is the skill, you need the training, how to take care of that chicken, how to take care of that cow. And if they're able to sell an egg in a day, if they're able to sell 10 eggs or 20 eggs, I'm sure those children will not sleep angry. Those children will go to school. Those children will get clothes, So daily my day-to-day challenge, I would say, is breaking, breaking that norm of, as a woman, you have to just stay home or wait for someone to bring you food, but having a community where we have women who are ready to fight, who are ready to work. And when we say work, there is no boundary that you cannot do this. This is for men and this is for women. Being in an assembly, my county assembly, where I'm the only woman out of 29 elected men, sometimes we sit and they ask me, you are the only woman, how did you get here? What happened? What did your people see that they voted for you? So, those things come up, but I'm sure these 5 years with the leadership and the right support, we can support so many women to be able to go up the ladder and be people to look up to in the communities. Thank you.
Jenny, did you want to finish?
Yeah. Yes, our time is up. I'm sure we could listen to Anita all day, as I can. The other day when we spoke, it was an hour and a half, and I'm like, where did that time go, as she was filling me in on lots of different things. Another thing that we've been talking about is malaria is running rife in her community. So that's something else that we were talking about, doing a community assessment on bed nets, and looking at that as another thing that we might be able to help with. That's Rotarians help against malaria. So, there's lots of little things that little things, I know, but I guess every little thing helps. If one person does one thing, it's that one starfish, it will help. And so thank you for the people that have come together today. Every one of you is so important for us to launch this campaign. And Anita, you, as Lauren just said before she had to duck off, you are an amazing woman. Thank you for Zooming in today before you gallop off for your day. And it is a great pleasure to have us with us today. It is wonderful to have everybody with us today.
No, I think it's all been said, and it's just rally the troops and let's get some money to support what a great cause, and support Anita, who's a champion of her people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you so much.
lovely ladies who have joined us from Days for Girls chapter. So thank you once again, and I wish you a very, very pleasant, the rest of the day for Australia, the whole day for Anita, and
Thank you.
we'll be in touch again soon. Okay.